Hello everybody, Natsu Tanaka here. I just wanted to say before the video starts, this video will be containing a lot of spoilers. I just thought that since all of the other creators are most likely gonna do some spoiler reviews today as of recording this, there's really no point in, keeping the band-aid on, so to speak. They've already seen it weeks in advance, so I thought I might as well just throw my hat in the ring as soon as possible. Also, you can probably hear it right now, but I am very congested. I'm super sick, recovering from a pretty long-lasting cold as of now. Irregardless though, I really hope that you do enjoy the video, and especially consider going out to see Five Nights at Freddy's 2 yourself. Not to spoil too much of what I think of the movie just yet, but it's safe to say that I did actually enjoy it more than the first, so I highly do recommend that you actually go out and watch it yourself, form your own opinion. But yeah, other than that, back to the video. Scott Cawthon has done it again with another banger Five Nights at Freddy's movie. It's safe to say that with this 2-year gap, the fans were a little bit worried as to how this one might go. But it looks like Emma Tammy has still got it in the bag. Now, I will have to say, I was not the most hyped when going into this, for the main fact that Scott just would not stop releasing just overwhelming amounts of footage for the movie, so much so that we already had almost the entirety of the story pinned. We had the way that some people's deaths would go and play out. We had new characters, we had some secrets that weren't supposed to be revealed, at the very least, I think, until you actually went to the theater and saw the movie, as well as just some other things that had to do with, the hype of the movie going in that I just really didn't like. I much enjoyed the more laid-back advertisement approach of the first film. But other than that, I just want to get the summary out of the way first. It's by far going to be the longest part of this video. I came back the night of and I actually wrote like 6 pages of just script for this. So let me get through it and just tell you the basic premise. Well, maybe not basic, but the run through of the movie. The movie starts with William Afton making an announcement of the show's beginning. It's literally his trailer line, and we immediately jump into the quote-unquote accident with Charlotte. The scene shows us how Charlotte saves a would-be victim and ultimately dies from primetime Afton after a short chase. Right before we see the child being kidnapped, Vanessa tries to stop Charlotte from going after Afton. Our suspicions as to the nature of her death are confirmed when she screams on stage, releases the boy who runs to his parents, and collapses on stage. She dies right there as her back is shown to have several stab wounds and is caught by the marionette rising for its curtain call. We then get an amazing remix and rendition of the Newton Brothers original score as another wonderful 16-bit looking opening play. Open to Mike and Abby living life trying to be normal. Abby goes to school while Mike assumedly works some sort of security gig with the returning buddy from his mall job. Apologies, I don't really remember his name. They're trying to settle in after moving house while Vanessa has gotten out of her coma. Unfortunately for her, Vanessa keeps having terrible dreams of her father, so much so that she can't go a day without seeing some sort of hallucination. During a dinner date, Mike suggests that Vanessa confronts William within her dreams the way that Mike relived his trauma in the first movie. Vanessa, in return, suggests that Mike stops lying to Abby about the animatronics being broken. Abby still very much misses her friends, evidently, and even though she still has friends at school, she desperately wants to see them. Abby ends up going to the pizza place in the middle of the night just to find the broken down and destroyed location. Once noticing her missing, Mike follows, and it's there that Abby gets the fast talker, which doesn't actually work yet. Upon leaving, Mike finds a flyer on the door, which, other than the many FazFest posters, says that Fazbear Entertainment is guilty of murder and has a number to call. Mike stuffs it in his pocket and takes Abby home. We then cut to the spectral scoopers, a ghost hunter group that Abby was watching earlier. They have been given explicit permission to go to the closed Freddy's location led by quote-unquote Mike. If you didn't spoil yourself by watching the way too plentiful pre-release footage, you'd then get the crazy reveal that this is Michael Afton. Strangely enough, Michael revels in the deaths of the crew, not really caring about them, until one of the girls is led into the basement after hearing the grandfather clock music playing in the basement. I think this is a bit too different from the Michael Afton we know from the games, who's trying to fix all of his father's ill deeds, but maybe it'll change in the third movie after he sees just what his father has become. Obviously, that's entirely speculation. I think her name's Lisa. Lisa turns off the music box like a fucking idiot, and out pops the marionette. Michael's smile instantly fades once he sees that the puppet has possessed the girl and tries to kill him. He runs out of the building to say, "Welcome back, Charlotte," or something cringy like that, I don't really remember. With the puppet now awakened and the music box that kept her sleeping now destroyed, suddenly the fast talker's working again. It leads Abby in the middle of the night to the original Freddy's location, according to the trailer, where she meets Toy Chica. We don't see much of this night, but Abby works with them to make the animatronic we see in the trailer. This is for the science fair that she's trying to enter. Her teacher really doesn't want her to for some reason. Abby goes home and tells both Mike and Vanessa that she went to the location, where she talked to the trio and built her new animatronic. And while we don't know why they were asking for help just yet, we know that Vanessa is spooked by this revelation. Mike is super pissed off at Vanessa because both of them had some adventures of their own. Mike ended up calling the number on the flyer, and Vanessa confronted Afton in the dreamscape like Mike suggested. Starting with Mike, the number reached Henry, no last name given, who told him about the death of Charlotte. Unfortunately, we don't really get any more from this plotline till later, but Mike is super pissed at Vanessa for hiding even more missing kids and murders at Freddy's, rather than telling him. Vanessa, on the other hand, is super worried about Abby going back to the location, but Mike won't listen. Vanessa had confronted William in her dreams and relived an event where Afton gives a speech basically saying that she belongs to him and has purpose by being his child and fulfilling her role. Eventually, she runs away and locks herself in William's workshop, where she hides in some sort of closet-like clothes rack. And strangely enough, this contains motherfucking Circus Baby, who springs to life and stares at Vanessa. For a little while, she runs away and then shoots William, ending the dream after some parting words. Mike and Vanessa unfortunately end up splitting up, and Mike goes with Abby to the science fair, where he then abandons her and sees Henry. And Vanessa goes to the original Freddy's location to confront Charlotte. Vanessa gets absolutely clapped by the newly possessed Lisa, I think, and gets tied up. Mike talks with Henry, and it's spelt out to us that Charlotte was murdered by William Afton, and Henry used to be his business partner. During this time, Abby's project is destroyed by the mean teacher guy, causing her to run away to the original Freddy's. Abby meets up with Toy Chica, who asks her to disable the perimeter lock that keeps them all inside the building. After Charlotte extorts the code from Vanessa, Chica and Abby head to the school while Vanessa is tied up and trapped in the building. Mike, still at Henry's, leaves with the parting gift of the music box, because Mike realizes that Abby isn't at school and rushes to the location where Abby has already left. Upon arriving, Mike finds the withered animatronics, which are currently non-functional. Mike rescues Vanessa and they set out to track the animatronics, who are currently running out and about with the express desire to kill parents, since Charlotte was ignored by many parents when trying to save the would-be victim on the day she was murdered. I know, it's kinda dumb. Mike ends up staying at the location to try and help Vanessa in locating the animatronics via a GPS tracker and disabling their wireless functions. It's here where the wizards are activated for all of 5 seconds, and Mike has to play the FNAF 2 loop for a bit before disabling them all. While Mike tries to figure that out, Vanessa does her best to save any civilians from being killed by the toys, where we finally hear the voices from Bonnie and Freddy. Vanessa's car gets cooked by Mangle, but she ends up breaking Mangle by smashing her through a fucking window and into Freddy. Thankfully for the family inside, our savior Doug the lawyer is here to allow her refuge for the night, with a literal blink and you miss it cameo, and a 3-second line before disappearing for the rest of the movie. It's then that Mike finally stops the animatronics remotely. Once they are all disabled, the marionette puppets Toy Chica and breaks out to possess Abby at the new Schmidt house. Mike and Vanessa follow and are met with the now flying and possessed Abby, who chases them until Mike uses the music box. The marionette slithers out of Abby, which I assume was physically piloting Abby from the inside because of FNAF 6 and also the Room for One More story, as well as the line calling back to her memory in which she threw up a ton. The puppet retreats, and suddenly, the reawakened animatronics corner the three of them, where Michael is revealed to be there and wanting to kill them all. In the film, it basically sets up the whole FazFest plotline. Like, they pretty much frame it in a way that, as Michael Afton says, half of the town will be dead by morning. But like, the finale happens in Mike's house. And I came to the realization that Toy Freddy is the only one that goes there. And aside from one pretty silly line delivery where we get introduced to his voice, the animatronics just don't come back to FazFest. I feel like it was being set up for most of the movie, but I'm kind of disappointed that they went a completely different direction. Thankfully, Vanessa stands with them, and Mike previously had gone to the old Freddy's location from the first movie and had asked the missing animatronics for help. They destroy all of the toys with ease, and one of Mike's friends supposedly catches Michael with a absolutely banger clothesline. The animatronics power down from being outside of the location and literally die as their spirits pass on, with the Golden Freddy kid saying, "You know we can't hold him anymore." Obviously, setting up the third movie and the return of William Afton. Mike separates himself from Vanessa, being mad at the fact that once again, there was crucial info that Vanessa wasn't telling him, being Michael Afton's existence, of course, and asks her to stay away for good. The movie ends with Vanessa looking distraught as the puppet slithers in from the background and supposedly sneaks up her asshole and possesses her for the next film. In a post-credit scene, we see three teens in the first movie's location where they say a few lines from the FNAF 3 phone call, and to no one's surprise, bag Springtrap, who is revealed to still have a glow in his eyes still. Wading further into the credits lets you listen to a distressed Henry who foretells his own potential death, saying he wants to get more involved and says Charlotte is coming for both of them before some crashing in the background is heard. Now that is basically the long and not so short of the movie's summary. As you probably heard, I do have some grievances with the film in terms of pacing and plot lines, but overall I think that Emma Tammy and Scott Cawthon had done a wonderful job with this adaptation. Now let's just talk about the secrets before I forget about them, because some of them were absolutely blink and you miss it moments. I will be going to watch the film a second time, so if I don't end up finishing this video by the time I do that, I'll try to add some editor's notes for anything that needs clarification. Starting with Shadow Bonnie, he actually appears for not even a second. It is a literal blink and you miss it appearance where I think he appears for just about 3 frames of footage. It's straight out of the trailer where Mike turns on the flashlight and flips it towards the FNAF 2 hallway, and it's there that just briefly before he turns on that flashlight, you can see Shadow Bonnie on one of the walls. Now, there is actually a Five Nights at Candy's appearance in one of the arcade games at the very start of the movie, where we first get to see the original location, the FNAF 2's location, in its prime time. It's there for just about 2 seconds. You can miss it super easily. And I was fortunate enough to be able to say, "Oh, candy, it's the candy." And obviously, I mentioned this one already, but the absolutely insane reveal that Circus Baby is in this film. Let me just tell you, the new toy aesthetic fits her so well. She is 1-to-1 with the games, especially Help Wanted 2. I can't wait to see what they do with Circus Baby, because at this point we already know for a fact that Circus Baby was very early in the timeline, despite the obvious implications that heavily suggest that William and Henry are several decades before their time in terms of animatronic design. Now, of course, I talked about it as well, but Springtrap is indeed in this movie, and he looks pretty damn good. Unfortunately, he's covered by one of those clear plastic bags, which is the only time we get to see him for that ending shot of the end credit scene. He does look really good from what I can tell, though, and I'm super excited to see more. Now, thankfully, Doug is also in this movie. Once again, another blink and you miss it appearance. Yeah, unfortunately, a lot of these really cool reveals and things are just here so very briefly. But we're about to get to my overall good and bad thoughts on this film, and I will talk about the film's length in a little bit more detail there. Now, for this film, I would like to start off with the good. I think the pacing is way better than the first movie, even though it does feel rushed. I especially like the fact that there are way more animatronics, because obviously that's what I'm there to see for the most part. I think the Jim Henson Creature Shop did a absolutely insane amount of work for this movie, and it clearly shows that they had just about 2 years working on this film. From Springtrap to Circus Baby especially, to the toy animatronics, they simply look amazing. I did like their attempts at more horror. I will still say I wasn't scared. None of the people I went with were scared, but it's a Five Nights at Freddy's film. You're not really going there for the horror now, are you? Now, harping back on it, the effects in this movie were really good. I was never once taken out of this film because of any sort of effects, CGI, maybe the puppet makeup, but that's the closest thing to it. It all felt very normal and very much so FNAF-like to me. I think the story, even if a bit rushed, was pretty decent. I think it was actually more solid than the first movie. I really didn't like the whole plot line with, Abby's drawings conveying a lot of meaning to her, and it being the way to defeat Afton, because it's the same way with the Ghost Kids. I thought that was kind of lame. It's the same way in the Fourth Closet book, which I also didn't necessarily like the ending of. That aside, I thought the story was pretty good for all the stuff they had to cram in. It was insane. I think the character dynamics between Mike, Vanessa and William, Vanessa, Abby, Mike and Abby are really good in this film. You don't get to see a whole lot of it because you're moving at such a breakneck pace. But there are so many plot lines that just don't conflict with each other, and it feels like the Namek saga from Dragon Ball Z, where you have like these 3 different storylines going on, but they're all intertwined just enough so that they feel different, but they're all very much related, and they all have their own stakes. I very much liked all the different side characters, and speaking of side characters, Balloon Boy dies in the film, which got spoiled in another of the pre-release footage and images, but I did like the fact that Mike literally just goes up to him and twists his fucking head off without even like waiting. Oh my god, another thing I forgot to mention, but I really liked was how basically the movie was trying to push their PG-13 rating, and basically Toy Chica crushes the head of Abby's mean teacher, and it tries a bit more to get some gruesome deaths in there. And I totally forgot it, but the spectral scoopers, that one kid that's in the Chucky TV miniseries, he literally gets torn limb from limb by Mangle, but it's just like kind of blurred out in the background so you don't really see too much of it. And I'm assuming that's how they kept the PG-13 rating. But yeah, I totally forgot. That was sick as hell. Now, speaking of the secret characters, yes, I did like them a ton. They were super fun to see. I thought that none of them really broke the film and its immersion. It all felt very FNAF 2-like, and it matched the timeline that I kinda had in my head, especially with Circus Baby, because we know for a fact that she had to have come super early in the timeline. Now, this one's a given, but the intro was insanely good, and the music was even better for the film. It was all a lot of remixes of the original score by the Newton brothers, but that's not to say that it was lazy or bad. It was insanely good, and I liked it a lot. Now, unfortunately, there is a dark side of this film. I think it was both way too short, and it was insanely long, and I just did not want it to be longer. It really felt incomplete with the whole cliffhanger and seemingly no progress made between our main characters. You know how I complimented their character dynamics? Unfortunately, we don't really move forward with that. We take one step forward and immediately step back in terms of Mike and Vanessa, Mike and Abby. We don't get to see a whole lot of them because we're just moving so incredibly fast. I talked about this just a little bit, but yeah, the scenes blaze by so incredibly fast that some of the standout moments, like the Wizards coming to life, Mike actually having to survive in the office, they go by in just about 10 minutes. They really don't want to stick around. They're not fast-footing around, so to speak, because we just move from plotline to plotline, and even though it does flow together, it feels a bit contrived. Now, of course, with all of these different kind of plot contrivances, I obviously understand why a lot of the critics are saying that the film is as bad as they are. It's very much obvious that this film has been catered to the fans and only the fans, especially with all of the crazy secrets and reveals. But even still, I think that the critics are kind of overblowing it. This feels like it's mostly, as I said, it doesn't really resolve a whole lot. It's mostly just setting up for the third film. And I think that once the third film's out, perhaps the second will be getting, I guess, a better... It'll be able to be viewed in a new light, and it'll be more highly favored. But for now, all we really have is speculation and all the different setups that maybe didn't necessarily work for the second film. I think Vanessa in this film was kind of stupid. For whatever reason, she doesn't tell Mike about the other locations of Freddy's existing after he's confused about why Abby is talking about seeing her friends and talking about her new animatronic that was built by Freddy, Chica, and Bonnie. This could have easily solved the little misunderstanding if she just didn't get mad at the fact that Mike confronted her about the death of Charlotte. So I honestly don't know how in a million years I could ever forget this horrendous line, but it's actually right here that the worst line in the entire movie is said, and it's actually the reason that Vanessa initially splits up from Mike. And honestly, I get it. I don't get why Mike said it, but I get it. In Mike's little spiel about wanting the truth from Vanessa, he ends up letting slip that he's trying to fix his family, he's trying to help fix Abby, and then he says, trying to fix you. In response to Vanessa saying that Abby is going to the new FNAF location, Mike says, hey man, I can't do this whole living normal thing anymore because it's just one thing after another. And then he drops that absolute just fucking trash fire line. And I get why Vanessa split off from the group and gets kidnapped by Charlotte. But oh my god, I will never forget that line again. I think this is one of the main reasons that I thought it was kind of a bullshit way that separates them at the very end of the movie. Because, like, it's very obvious that if she had just said something about Michael Afton, it wouldn't have been as big a surprise to Mike as it would have been, and he wouldn't have separated himself from Vanessa, saying that he couldn't trust her anymore. Another of these plot lines that I thought was really bad is that you just see Henry for like actually 2 seconds. You see him in the one scene that Mike is in, and he's pretty much gone after that until the end credit, where he's only heard on a voice line. I think that William was also there for just about 4 seconds, as he's only there in hallucinations and the flashback dream sequence with Vanessa. Another little cameo that I wanted to mention, Doug exists in this film for actually 3 seconds. He says one line about having a good lawyer and how it's really good, whatever, Better Call Saul, haha, very funny. And then you never see him again. It's kind of dumb. I have to point this one out. This one is incredibly obvious, but it makes no sense that since the animatronics are so slow and loud, yet they're able to sneak up on like 4 different people in the film with invisible quickness and 0 sound. And that leads me to another point. The horror just isn't scary. Like, we all understand it's a FNAF film. Realistically, what are you going to do? The most they tried was the creepy stuff that happened with the puppet. I did think that was pretty unsettling, even if I never once got scared. Speaking of the puppet, I think the ending was pretty much lacking in anything that actually resolved any of the issues that the characters were facing throughout the film, and only served to really introduce new threats. Even though I don't necessarily want it, I do think the next film should be over 2 hours if they really want to cram in as much information as they are going to with what the second film did here. But that's about it for my thoughts on this movie. What did you think about the movie? Did you think it was good? I certainly did. I would rate this movie just about an 8 out of 10. Editor's note will pop up right now if I think that the score has changed after my most recent viewing, which I will be having in just a few hours.
No.
But yeah, that's gonna be about it for today. Thank you everybody so much for watching. Make sure to like, subscribe, follow me on Twitch, join the Discord down below. And of course, as always, lots of love to all of you, and have a day.